Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our GCH Group live stream. We're going to be talking about new construction today. We are going super formal. As you can see, I'm in my car. I'll have a story about that a little bit later. And let me introduce the other people joining us today. We have Kimberly Lahadny from Augusta. And we have the newest addition to our team, Lori Price, who is also in the Augusta market. So good morning, ladies. Does everybody have their coffee ready to go?
Ready to go.
My husband used the paint sprayer to paint our house, and there's like speckles of paint all over the lid, which is really kind of gross, but oh well. At least it's dry. So, oh, good. Altavi's just joining us as well. Good morning, Altavi's. Altavi's just got back from vacation. I didn't want to make her come to work so early on a Monday morning, but
listen, got to do what you got to do.
Was it fabulous?
Hi, guys.
Good morning. So just a recap for anybody who is here live with us. Altavi's is serving Metro Atlanta. Lori and Kimberly are in Augusta, and I am representing the Savannah market this morning. So we wanted to talk about new construction because everybody loves the idea of building their dream home and getting something brand new that's clean and modern, and we don't have to redo anybody's poor decorating choices. But is that always the best course of action? So Lori and Kimberly, why don't I let you guys start it off with what you're seeing in the Augusta market?
Okay, Lori, do you want to start? Because I bet you've got some good numbers for us.
Well, you know, as an aerial view overview, I was looking at some of the most recent stats, even this morning again, and it's really interesting in terms of numbers of new construction and active listings. In Columbia County, 78% of all homes on the market are new construction. 78%, which tells you Columbia County is booming. In Richmond County, it's 29%. In North Augusta, pretty much Aiken, Edgefield County area is about 30%. So if you're looking specifically for new construction, you may want to target Columbia County. It's not that the other counties don't have it, but it's a pretty good shot. You're going to find something brand new in that area. There's lots more to tell about the range of prices. They start as low in any one of the counties, primarily again in Columbia County, as low as $150,000 and go up to $1.1 million. Wow. New construction, not custom. There are custom homes in that price range, but that is again a plot that a builder started on. It was a spec home, and somewhere in the process, somebody came along and said, "Hey, we love this home. We love this neighborhood. How do we make this happen?" So that's in a nutshell what we're looking at. But Kimberly, why don't you fill in some of the blanks? I know you've got lots of other information as well.
Sure. So hopping on the numbers game, as of yesterday's what's on the market, in Columbia County, we only have 73 that are active on the MLS, 73 listings, new construction and or under construction. I've got 5 in the 600. Well, I've got 1 in the $700,000 range, 5 in the $600,000 range, 20 or so units in the $500,000 range, and 14 in the $400,000. Then it goes down lower to the 3s, the 2s. What I want you to know about Columbia County is that you've got some things that we were waiting on for a while. So Whispering Pines, which is another Maybaum development, has finally opened up lots again. We were waiting on them for a long, long time. We're already in resales in there, but there was a whole nother phase that was being built, and COVID and lumber prices really slowed it down. So we had people waiting on some of these houses for a long, long time. Now, unlike Altavi's, and she's going to talk about some national builders, a lot of our builders are more local. So these are local custom builders that are building a builder grade product that's excellent, but it is semi-custom. You can come in and do little changes, right? I have not heard a lot of conversation like you might hear from Altaviz or even from Karen about restrictions on what you can and cannot pick in terms of your custom choices. But the wait time is still really long. So people like Whispering Pines and some of the Ivy Home communities, which I can tell you about later, because you can put in money and it will, it'll hold your spot and all of those things. But there have been some nuances lately. They're not as bad as what Altaviz and what I've heard in Savannah. That market is the contracts of holding those properties have been changing, and maybe your price has been changing. I believe they're holding to the price, but they've been reluctant. What we see with our builders is they're reluctant to put the new construction on the MLS until they can secure the price. We do have a national builder here, DR Horton, which some of you all know. We're not going to talk about our thoughts on any particular builder, but that's one of our major national builders. But we don't have all the ones that people are always looking for, like Pulte and KB and things like that. Richmond County, the price point starting is much lower, and the top point is much lower at $390,000, like the $390,000 range is the top for new construction. And then oops, I'm sorry, I'm not sure where I put my other information. Typically, Aiken County and Edgefield are seeing price points closer to Columbia County, so a little bit higher. And I have a lot more to say, but I'd like to throw it over to Altaviz.
Hi, guys. Thanks. So yeah, it's a little bit different here, and we do have a lot of the national builders up this way. But what I will say is that new construction sales have increased by 35% in like the last 6 months here. And it's just been crazy because before, I would say pre 6 months ago, it was a little bit easier to get into a new construction. Even with the build time, you wouldn't be waiting long, maybe a couple months. And I think the standard is about between 4 and 6 months. But now that we've seen this jump, this increase, our builders here are like having to pivot and kind of adapt to this new environment. And, like you mentioned, Kimberly, with the lumber prices and cost of materials going up, they've kind of pivoted and implemented all of these new kind of rules and requirements to kind of, I don't know if I think it's a mix of them needing to keep everyone in order, in line, and also wanting to make sure they don't underprice or price themselves out. But what I'm seeing so we have a lot of national builders here, like DR Horton, like you mentioned, Smith Douglas, Pulte. A lot of those builders, what I'm seeing with them are long wait lists. So they're not even releasing lots like they normally would. They're actually only releasing about 2 to 4 a month. And so out of this list of 200 people, at the top of each month, they'll go through the list and call the top 4 people to find out if they're still interested in those 2 to 4 lots that they're releasing that month. And if they're all interested, then those 4 lots are gone and the next few people move up. And so you could be on a wait list for about 6 months before you even write a contract. So that's what is going on here. And it's with, like I said, most of the national builders. The few local builders that I've been working with, I've not seen, it's not been a wait list. It's still been a first come, first serve situation. So I have clients who are working with local builders who we went in, we saw a lot, the lot was still available. We put down an earnest money deposit, signed a contract that day, and we're under contract, and they'll be done in 4 months. But then with the national builders, it's like I have clients on waiting lists waiting to get an appointment to sign a contract for a lot. So
that's very interesting because that's similar to what we're seeing in Savannah. We are seeing that the big national chains are the ones that can't get it done. They are constantly having supply chain issues. We've got one builder here that can't get windows. So the house will be 100% complete except for gaping holes where the windows should be, and they just can't get windows. But if you go with a smaller local builder, they don't seem to be having those problems. So it's funny that when we have clients that are just very adamant that they want new construction, we're trying to steer them to these smaller builders that they may never have heard of before, because they actually have a chance of moving into the house in a timely fashion.
This century.
And I'll speak to that because so much of our construction is working with local builders, but a lot of our local builders are very reputable in the area, and we have some that are consistent across different communities. So the Maybaum development team, so we know about Maybaum Real Estate. We're obviously with another real estate brokerage, but Maybaum has a development arm, and they typically use a couple of known builders, and you'll hear these repeat. So Tyndale, Oconee, Capitol Homes, Southern Georgia Homes are some of the reputable builders that are building, and you'll see them in Maybaum Development Homes. You'll see them in Southeastern Development Homes, and then also these somebody will come in and they'll grab a 20-acre parcel or less, and it could be an individual investor. We have that here in the area, or it could be family land, and they will hire some of these builders to come in and develop the land and sell that way. And they'll partner. This is important. I want to share this because, especially for the sake of Lori and I don't know if it's happening in Karen's market or Altavise's. Typically, these developers hook on to a brokerage and put an agent on that is there to support that brokerage. That's not any different than a national builder. They typically have a agent on site, but it's important to know that though it is easy or easier to just work with that agent and do everything that way, and they would prefer it that way, you are then in a dual agency situation, and it's harder to negotiate terms. So it's really important to have an individual agent help you navigate your new construction, whether it's a bigger builder or a development or not. And I have a really exciting development to talk about at the end of this, because there's some communities that are just starting that are really, really exciting. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
I think that's a good point,
Preach, sister.
So it's such a good point. Recently I had a client go under contract with a builder, national builder. I won't name names, but was a national builder, and they, in the contract, because of all of the things that are going on with the current, climate and the price increases and all of that, they actually have a stipulation in their contract that says, we're not obligated to give you a closing date. And we're not obligated, we're not obligated to give you a closing date. And we will, if we do give you a general closing date and we don't close within that time frame, we still have 2 years to hold your money and build this home. So if we give you a closing date of June 1st, and for some reason that doesn't happen, we can string you along for 2 years. And if within that 2 years, you're like, well, I'm not waiting any longer, I need my earnest money back, you don't get your earnest money back, because in the contract, you're agreeing to a closing date of now up to 2 years from now.
Okay. And that is the perfect segue to what I wanted to lean into, because it was like, the title of this broadcast is "Do Not Buy New Construction Without Watching This," and some disturbing trends that we are seeing. So Altavize, while you were on vacation last week and I was covering for you and I was talking with one of your clients, she told me a clause in a contract, and I was really hoping that she just misunderstood. But I want to ask you if this is real. In the contract for the major national builder that they were planning to buy with, it said, if you choose to use your own lender and you do not go with our preferred lender, that they can continue to offer the property for sale. And if someone comes in and offers them more money, they will kick you out of contract, even though we have an accepted offer and it's binding and everyone is under contract, simply because they're using their lender
Their
and
lender.
not the lender that the builder recommended.
That is
How is
correct.
that not a violation? How is
No,
that not a violation?
That is
Wow.
correct. That's what
Wow.
they have in their contract. That's the same national builder who says they have up to 2 years to build. And further, I'm going to tack on to that. Not only do you have to use their lender, and if someone else comes along that does use their lender, they can boot you out. But if you don't use their lender and use your own lender, the earnest money goes from $3,000 to $25,000.
What?
$25,000 for not using their lender is what you have to put up front. And now they want you to put $25,000 up front and then say, well, you can close anywhere between now and 2 years from now. So you want me?
I feel like there's a very real national lawsuit that could be.
Yeah, I think it's really unethical, but these are the kinds of things that you need an agent for, because with my previous client, we actually negotiated that close time down from 2 years because I was like, this is ridiculous. We can't agree to 2 years. And so we were able, thankfully, to negotiate that down. But most of the time, you can't even negotiate with these builders. They're so, these contracts are really built to protect them.
Well, and also
100%.
you bring up the point that Kimberly was making, that all the more reason you need your own representative.
Yeah.
Because that's one big thing that you hope a buyer would see on their own.
Right. But no, most people don't read the contract.
No, and they don't know the other builders that are out there that don't have that.
Yeah.
Well, you could say, hey, look, there are other homes that you wouldn't be under this kind of crazy rule.
Yeah.
And,
but I think, Lori, they're getting away with it because new construction is so in demand now. There really is nowhere else you can go. Because everything is already under contract, or they're only releasing 2 to 4 lots at a time. And if you need to move within a couple months, and if you have kids and you want to move before school starts, you can't do it. So you're kind of beholden to whatever you can get your hands on.
But boy, is that crazy? If you're, what if it goes to the 2-year mark? Then, that's hard.
Well, and we, all of us, well, I don't know if Altavis has a lot of military in her area, but we represent military communities.
Right.
Yeah.
So they don't have the choice, and they typically love new construction because we can put them under contract a couple of months ahead of time or more, and then their house is ready when they get here. But that just isn't the situation right now. So, I mean, there are a couple builders in our area. I think Ivy Homes is still operating pretty smoothly. I
think Keystone is operating. I mean, Keystone has built thousands in the community, and they're similar in both Ivy, Keystone, Beasley. They do kind of a mid price point to lower end home. They do some higher end like Mountain Vintage and custom homes, but their bread and butter is really right in that middle ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been pretty active. And Karen, I wanted to mention one of the things that I think is really key with the local builders, and I don't mean the local ones that are doing, 10 and 20 homes. I mean the ones that have really built small little empires themselves, where they have huge in-house teams that do everything. They, I think, do not run into the shortage supply situation because they're not in a resource lane where all our windows come from X and all our doors or our lumber, or they can pivot because they're not as big of a dealer, I guess, in terms of pulling in their supplies. But I have known individually, both working with custom builders and working with mass builders, that they for sure have multiple resources. So they'll be like, oh, well, I know I can get this here.
Yeah.
And, so they'll change a brand. They won't, that window's not available. Okay, great. We're going to go with this brand.
Yeah. There's a builder here that I work with that we were going through a walkthrough with a client last month, and the plaster and the sheetrock was the job was just so awful. It was a final walkthrough and it looked like a disaster. And the builder came in and he couldn't believe it. And he's like, you know what? They're fired. I'm calling in my other sheetrock company. I'll have them in there later today and they'll fix it. And that was like mind blowing to me that they even had a secondary option. So that was really nice. And it didn't derail anything. He got the new sheetrock company in. Everything was fixed by the next day and we closed. So I agree. Yeah, there are some builders like these mass builders. They're kind of, they buy in bulk with one brand. And it's, if there's a delay or a supply chain shortage, then they're like kind of, out of luck.
They're frozen. They won't.
Yeah.
I'll say that that's really true. I mean, Lori, I'm so glad you brought that up because our builders here in Augusta they're agile. They can do those things. And they actually work really well together. So some of these developments have three builders, three different companies working on the same project. So like I said, they're like for this new build that is very exciting that's coming to the Appling Harlem area is Greenpoint, and Greenpoint is extremely exciting. And they've got Oconee Capital, they've got South Georgia Homes, and what was their other home builder? Hold on. Buildwell. They will actually share resources. The three builders that are building there, if they run into issues, they will help each other because they're all building on the same development.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. And then, I completely concur. So sometimes like the Augusta market might be a good place to look because we do have most of our developments. I mean, even what Lori's saying with Ivy Homes and Beasley, they have their in-house teams and they're running very smoothly, but they're not national builders. They still pull from the same resources that all of these smaller builders that are custom built.
They have built these channels over the years. So they'll send a truck out just to pick up, an order of windows. I've seen them do that. And they'll go to North Carolina or, Florida or somewhere to pick up what they need to in terms of getting something done. So it is.
Hey guys, are you seeing the comments below? I think Mark mentioned that we're changing his mind about new constructions. And I feel bad. I don't want to change anyone's mind about new construction.
I do.
We just want to, well, maybe, but we also just want to give this information so that maybe when you only have in your mind that you want to buy only a new construction, at least you know that there are other options that you don't only have to go that route. Or that
in this market right now, I mean, gone are the days where you walk into the model home and you say, this is the lot that I want. This is the floor plan that I want. This is the color I want for the kitchen counters. This is the color I want for the floors. And I want it to be finished in 5 months. And I will be moving in on the date. That is not happening in this market. And it has not been happening since the beginning of COVID. So we just need to really let everybody have realistic expectations.
Yeah.
Like if you go with this builder, are you willing to be in limbo for 2 years?
Right.
And let me give you a perfect horror story of a client so one of our clients in Savannah that Nicole was working with, where they were under contract to buy the house, COVID hit. All hell broke loose. By the time they finally had the house ready, I think it was a year and a half later, they had lost their amazing interest rate because so much time has lapsed. They couldn't lock it in forever. Their monthly payment has, I believe, almost doubled because of the huge increase in interest rate.
Yeah.
And they had to give up their rate lock. They had to give up. They had to go live in temporary lodging and sign like a 6-month lease somewhere multiple times because they just kept getting delay after delay. What should have been like the most exciting time of them building a fabulous house turned into a complete and utter nightmare where none of it was enjoyable. And now the house that they have, it's not costing them what they thought it was going to when they first went under contract. So we just want to make sure that we're letting everybody know if you're going to do new construction,
what you're up
hire
against.
an agent who's going to steer you in the right direction of, hey, if you go with this builder, this is what you can expect.
Right.
If you choose in this neighborhood, this is what you can expect, so
Right.
that you know, like, you can prepare yourself mentally that it's not just going to be all hearts and rainbows and unicorns, and in 90 days
Yeah.
you're going to be living in your dream house.
I have two things to say to that. So you bring up a good point, or you reminded me about that same national builder we were talking about. There's another comment coming in, but that same national builder, the one good thing that they are offering is that if you do use their lender, they will lock the rate for you for 180 days, because the delays may be that long. So that's the one good thing, that I have some clients that are locked for 180 days. In the event it takes 2 years or longer, a little longer to build. So that's one thing. Secondly, yes, Karen, gone are the days where you go in and handpick what you want. Like, that's just not happening anymore, unless here in the Atlanta market, unless you're in the luxury price point, high end or luxury. If you're like anywhere between like 800,000 and up, you can expect that you can go into like a Toll Brothers, sit down, choose your layouts, choose all of your materials, all of your colors. When you need it to be done, you can still do all that, but you've got to be in that high end to luxury price point. And high end here in Atlanta starts at about 800,000. That's high end. Luxury starts at probably about 1.3, 1.5, like around there. So anywhere between 800 and up, you can still do that, guys. So just wanted to throw that out there.
And LTVs in our market, I think you can do some basic things around the 300 to 400, like color choices.
Yes,
depending on your time when
Same.
you buy. Yeah,
same here.
Right, simple things. But if you have bigger things, like you want to pick lighting fixtures, and surface things,
or swap out a room, like I'll choose a fifth bedroom versus a flex room. Yeah,
right, exactly. That happens more in the 6
luxury.
Well, right.
I would say that too, but so let's take Ivy Homes as a good example. So Ivy Homes is really on trend. So when you walk into one of their new homes, and Beasley as well, they've selected finishes that I would say you would appreciate and like. But for instance, all the secondary bathrooms other than the master and the downstairs still have Formica countertops. I don't know how, I don't know why. That's not Beasley, by the way. This right now they're in the mid 3s and 4s. I would say you can't get an Ivy home for less than $350 right now. And when I say that, I mean detached. You can still get a townhouse, but and we can talk about the different Ivy. They have quite a few neighborhoods, and but what I was going to tell you is that if you want to go ahead and change out, you can still, at the 350, 400 range, you can change out the countertops to all granite, but you need to know that there's still a builder here in the South that's using Formica in their secondary bathrooms, which is crazy to me. Yeah. But I would say, like, our luxury market or our higher end market starts at the 550, 650 range. Though we do a really weird jump right now. We saw this when for those of you know that I moved from California, we saw this in the Roseville area just outside Sacramento. We're starting to jump from like $499 to like $699. Like, we're just missing 5.
Yeah.
So we go almost immediately to 7. And you just need to be aware of that. Like, I have people call and go, "Oh, I just want to spend this," and I'm like, "Oh, we got nothing."
Yeah.
And, like, we have some nice stuff below.
Kimberly,
stuff above.
That is number 5 or closer to 6 and above.
Yeah.
It's so funny. This jump though is really funny because we had a jump here too. But like really between like this 500 and 800 range, it's so dead. Like we just kind of jumped from like 5 to 8 and above. And so it's so funny. I had a prospective client reach out to me like 2 months ago, and he's like, we're moving here. We have all cash. we're moving here from Alabama. And he's like, I have 600,000 and we want to totally customize, a new build. And he's like, we want, modern farmhouse. And he's like, we love Toll Brothers. And I'm like,
Augusta.
I'm like, you can't move here. I'm like, I took him around and everything that he wanted started at about $950. And he was like, what? No, this is exactly what we want, but this is just too expensive. He's like, where's the homes that I can get for 600? And I'm like,
way outside of Atlanta. Way outside.
You might as well stay in Alabama because you're not getting that here.
Come to us.
So bad.
Come to us.
Yeah.
Well, I was
going
going to say this. So we're having, I too don't want to steer anyone away from new construction because initially, especially for a first-time home buyer or military family, I mean, it's just a killer deal because you can tend to get in and you don't have to worry about any fixes for several years.
Yeah.
And for our military that pass through every 2 years,
right.
and maybe they hold on to, like, let's say they want to come back, because we have a lot of people that say, I want to retire here, so I'm going to hold this property and I'm going to put it up for rent. They're ideal for that.
Yeah.
But I would say we're already in the resale. Now the resale, it's going to blow your mind because of appreciation. But if you have targeted a couple different neighborhoods like Whispering Pines or Riverwood, or let's say you know about Wright's Farm, which is really cool. Wright's Farm is already seeing secondary sales. We need to just work with you to gear your budget and set your expectations depending on the neighborhoods you're choosing to potentially do a resale. Because then you're going to get a home that's only about 2 years old. And like I said, we have military that are moving. They do buy, and not everyone wants to hold. And so they're out, you're going to be upset because you're going to be like, well, 2 years ago, they bought it for $290.
Yeah.
And now it's $450. And I'm like,
I know. I keep telling my clients, don't look at what they bought it for. That has nothing to do with today.
yes,
It doesn't matter. That's their come up.
yes.
Has nothing to do with you.
Right.
But I'll tell you that if they got it, I can't speak for any other market, but the houses that were built in some of these planned communities, master plan communities that were built by local builders, they are built really well. And they are worth, I mean, I don't know if they're worth the $450 price point, but they have appreciated, but they are not crap. And I say that, I don't represent any of these builders, but I've been very impressed having been the daughter of a builder and having been a daughter of someone who developed whole communities. I'm very appreciative of the quality that my clients are getting when
well, and to your point, Kimberly, and Altavis as well, really the last 2 years on the National House Price Index, we have gone up 34% nationally. So when people say, well, this house was this a year ago was overall nationally 19.8 or 19.4%. We went up in 12 months. So you can look at those things, but you need to look at what has gone on nationally as well as in your individual region. In some regions, and we know, Kimberly, in our market, and I know it's true in every market, even regionally, there's certain neighborhoods that are even higher that have gone up. They're bringing that extra wow factor that everybody wants to be in River Island, or everybody wants to be in Champions, or everybody wants to be on the Hill. There's certain communities that people just want that community. And so their price point, supply and demand, it goes up higher.
So that was a really awesome overview of our respective markets. In parting, is there one piece of advice you want to give someone if they are thinking about buying a new house, whether it's new construction or a resale? What do you think? What should they do? Altavis, let's start with you.
Okay, sorry. I was on the phone with an inspector who's at one of my clients' property right now. He can't get into the crawl space. So sorry. I was putting that fire out. Okay, what was the question?
If somebody wants to buy a house and they're trying to decide between a resale and new construction, what would your advice be right now?
my advice would be, do you have unlimited amounts of time? I would say, do you have unlimited amounts of time? Does it matter when you move? Do you have to be in by a certain time? If not, then I would let them know all of the, different things that could quite possibly happen if they go with a new construction. And if they're fine with that, then I would steer them that way. But if they're on a timeline, you need to get in by a certain date or whatever. And if that's the case, then I would just steer them to a resale. And like Kimberly was saying, there are resales that are 2 years old, 3 years old, that are basically brand new. Yeah, because people who built 2-3 years ago, they're now on to the next because they realize, oh, wow, I can get $200,000 more than what I paid for this. Let me sell this house and go rent an apartment for a year. A lot of people are doing that. So I would definitely refer them to a resale if they don't have time.
Good, good, good. Lori, what about you? What do you think?
I think, a little along the line of what Altavi said, what are your priorities? Is your priority, we want to get here and get into the house right away?
Yeah.
Is your priority more about a neighborhood or a budget, or, what is it you really want? And then that helps decide. I mean, that kind of will dictate, is it you really need to look at resale, getting right into the house, and you don't want any segue where you're renting for 6 months, or you're possibly not getting into your house when you think you are.
Yeah.
If that's your priority, if your priority is at all costs, you want that brand new house that you can pick every single thing in it, and you're willing to wait for it, then, a new home is the way to go.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's about the staging of what's on the market that particular day. There may be something that's on the market that's ready, and you can tell it's at the paint stage. We're not waiting on materials. And so that's an easier sell, but I think it's more about finding out what the buyer's priorities are, and then helping guide them into which lane is your lane.
Yeah.
I got it. Kimberly, how about you?
Well, I think the setting expectations and knowing your priorities is probably the biggest takeaway from this conversation. But I would also say this is still the South in a very positive way. Do not, well, I shouldn't say this. I don't want anyone to get really mad at me. Do not go with the agent on site, but please, please, please be personally represented, because you can still negotiate things. When I say it's still the South, Southerners still appreciate a good deal, and they will work with you. But you need to have a fighter in your corner that knows, and this is why I say this. Typically, new construction, if it's not by people who are local here, are people who are relocating, because it just feels easier. But that is how you can get taken advantage, because you just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So please work with someone close by who knows these people. We actually often know the on-site agents in our market. I don't typically know the national builders agents personally, but I do know the local ones that are here. And they know us and they like us, so they will work with you. And that's kind of my takeaway.
Yeah.
I love it. And this is good timing. I need to wrap up because there's a guy mowing the grass over here. I teased earlier why I was in my car. So we are now starting to see more bank foreclosure listings coming on the market. So all of those of you that are like, I want a deal, I want to buy an REO property, I'm on my way to go see our newest REO property and check out the condition of the interior and see what it looks like. And we're going to have more updates for that property as we go along, as far as like, how do you I'm assuming that it's not in great condition inside, but it's in a beautiful, fabulous gated neighborhood. So if we're able to do some basic updating, can we take it from before to after, and how much did that all cost, and what's that going to do for the property? So thank you, Kim. I'm glad all of you that were here, Josh, Kim, Mark, Michelle, thank you for your comments and your insight. Josh, I'm glad that you are not having any problems with your closing, although you totally should have called us. I'm just saying. And thanks everybody for joining us, coming to our latest live stream. We are going to be doing this more frequently. And with
Thank
that,
you, Kim
we will
Boyd.
see you.
Kim Boyd
on-
left us a few comments. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Kim said the scary part about resale is that you have to jump on it so fast, but at least if you jump on it fast and they accept your offer, there's no ambiguity of when you're going to be closing, right? I mean, within a few days, barring unforeseen circumstances. At least it's not like, thanks for the offer. Maybe we'll close in 2 years. Hope it works out for you. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us. And we'll see you on our next live.
Bye, ladies.
Thanks.